Hey, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to Upkick MMA episode 445. I am Brendan. UFC 310, Pantoja versus Asakura. We're going to break that fight down, break all the fights down on UFC 310, break them down round by round, talk about everything that happened, some horrible judging decisions. You and I will go into the scorecards and we'll figure stuff out, even for ones that had a finish, because I suspect, I haven't looked at any of the scorecards yet, other than what they showed on the broadcast. I suspect there were some other stinkers in there that we will find. I could be wrong, but knowing who is judging, there's a good chance. So if you like this kind of thing, subscribe to the channel. That way the next video is coming out, I'd super appreciate it. And if you do find yourself liking this video, hit the like button too. All right, let's go. All right, main event. Alexandre Pantoja taking on, I think it's Alexandre. I've heard it pronounced both ways, but I'm pretty sure it's Alexandre Pantoja. So he's taking on Kai Asakura, who is a challenger, another organization, blah, 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 blah. Like, we don't need to get into it. Really, what it was, the guy's got a little bit of hype on him. I'm sure the UFC signed him because he's an unknown quantity who's got some excitement. He fights exciting. He has a chance to inject new life into this division, which we will look at afterwards. We'll look at the division and show kind of why the UFC did this, although I would argue there's another Japanese guy who's making a run-up that could also be a good challenger. All right, looking at the first 60 seconds of this, it would be really telling to see if Asakura even belongs in here or not. And, you know, he kind of did pass that 60-second test. Pantoja with the low kicks and the hard right hand. Asakura landing a flying knee, and Pantoja just eats it and walks straight through it for the takedown. They get back up, but that was the story of the fight. Pantoja just eating shots to get through into the clinch area or get the takedown. Pantoja gets the takedown, nothing doing with it. Then they get back up. Asakura landing really, really hard leg kicks, slides out of the way, matrix style of a right hand. Pantoja with a stern look and just eating it as he presses forward. Asakura avoiding the takedown, but eats a knee on the way up. Asakura with the harder individual strikes in this round, but Pantoja just landing more and outdoing him in the overall damage, outlanding him 31-15. Right, that activity from him is something you're always going to have to deal with. So, second round, great jab from Pantoja, and the pressure is just crazy. He just runs through everything. He runs through a right hand, gets to the back, gets the finish via rear naked choke, and that's it. So, good try by the UFC to inject some new life into this division, but just no dice. Pantoja says, no, thank you. I want the belt still. So looking at this division, we will look and see why they did this, because Brandon Moreno obviously had the back and forth fights with Deiveson Figueiredo. They fought, I think, 4 times for the title. I would argue that Moreno won 3 out of those 4. But I digress. Brandon Royval just had the title. And he also lost to Pantoja. You have Royval. I think he lost to Pantoja twice. Once early on in his UFC career, and then again for the title. And then Brandon Royval just had his shot, lost to Pantoja, although he just had a win, I believe, as well. So now we're looking at, you know, 2 guys. Brandon Moreno coming off of a great win, absolutely deserves the next title shot, should be getting one, so that's the way that should be, even though he has 2 losses. So it's hard to get that, but this division's kind of fucked when it comes to that kind of thing. Amir Albazi has a possibility of finding his way in there. Kai Kara-France, he's always going to be in the discussion as like the top 5. He just really can't break through when it comes to getting the title shot or fighting or winning the title. That being said, right? And then here we go. Tatsuro Taira. He's the one who I thought they would be, you know, lining up to get a title shot. He's the one who's got, you know, the opportunity to bring Japanese viewers in, you know, all this other stuff. And he's a known quantity in the UFC. He's really freaking good. He's young. So maybe they're just kind of building him up a little bit. They don't want to throw him right to Pantoja and then have Pantoja beat him and then knock him back. I think that the best thing that the UFC could have had come out of this was Asakura. Either they get in a bloody war and they run it back, Asakura knocks him out really quick, or gets an impressive performance, and then they run it back against Pantoja. I think that was what they were looking for. It's just not what we got. So Brandon Moreno definitely should be on the docket. I am in support of that happening yet again, and I will hear nothing otherwise. Shavkat Rakhmonov versus Ian Machado Garry. This was supposed to be, I don't know what people were expecting this to be, but I kind of figured it was going to go this way. Also, 5 rounds for reasons. Like, I know what the UFC is doing. So I just wish they would communicate it better across. Maybe they did in some press briefing or something, and I just didn't pay attention to it because I don't have time to read literally everything about every single event that comes out, like all the little nuance and bullshit that they're doing. But if they're trying to make it so that title eliminator bouts are always 5 rounds, I'm down for that. Go for it. I've said it for a long time that I think you should have to fight in a 5-round fight before you make it to the title. Even if it doesn't go 5 rounds, you have to be forced into that opportunity. Because if you just win 3-round fights and you're a 3-round fighter and you get the title shot, I mean, that's kind of baloney because you're not fighting 3 rounds. So you never had to, like, there's other people who have had main events and had fought for the title and lost because, their 5 rounds that didn't go the way that they planned. So you getting to skip the line because you won a bunch of 3-round fights, it obviously can still happen, but I would prefer it if they did it this way more often. Neither guy committing for the first 55 seconds, then Rakhmonov gets into the clinch, and that's pretty much the entire round. I mean, a nice right hand from Rakhmonov, but 3 minutes and 20 seconds of control time, all of that in the clinch. Just, we could sit here and talk about technique in the clinch, but he's just a lot of clinch control. 10-9 for Rakhmonov. Second round, Garry staying on the outside of the cage, poking with his kicks, landing that jab too. Nothing, he just doesn't want to engage, so he doesn't want to stay in there because we don't want to get wrapped up. Rakhmonov using that stagger step, landing a big left hand, and then Garry wants to clinch, and then, of course, he gets spun around, controlled quite a bit in this round as well, 1 minute and 30 seconds. So, Rakhmonov didn't outstruck him in this round. He got outstruck 10-9. I mean, the first round was 3-2, but it was inconsequential. He got outstruck in this round, but he landed bigger shots, and like a lot of that stuff coming from Garry was going to the body and to the legs. And yes, those are damaging blows, but they weren't so damaging that they outweigh the 9 shots to the head from Rakhmonov. So clearly his round. Third round, Garry doing a decent job in the open, keeping the space, throwing the low kicks, avoiding the big offerings from Rakhmonov now. Garry gets in too close and gets caught in the clinch again. Mark Goddard separates him. He made a lot of stupid decisions. I will criticize him very heavily on this card. He made a lot of dumb decisions. We'll talk about it when we get to those fights. But again, if you know guys are just resting and that's not what their technique is and they go into the clinch and they're not trying to advance or not trying to do anything, I totally understand it. Keeping them on a short leash, giving them a chance. I totally understand that stuff. But when it comes to someone whose technique it clearly is, like I do a lot of clinch work, I spend time in the clinch, I'm forcing him into these positions. I got there. We didn't just get here to take a break. I'm putting him here because I want him there. I mean, that's different to me. So, I mean, them separating him, it's kind of bullshit, and it did, cut his control time to 1 minute and 11 seconds in this round. That being said, given what we got, it was a much better round for Garry. He outstruck him 14-11, was able to avoid staying on the fence as much this round, partially because of the help of Mark Goddard, but it is what it is. Let's look at the fourth round. Good striking from both guys in space. Garry using the low push kick and oblique kick to keep range. Now, this was really effective, and I think, god dang, if he had just done this slightly more in this round and avoided that clinch, he would have won this round and could have won this fight, right? Rakhmonov finally able to clinch and separate, and then Rakhmonov gets a takedown in the open. Garry able to get up with 60 seconds left, but gets taken down yet again, and that's the end of the round. 39-37. Garry needs a finish here. So looking at the striking numbers here in the fourth round, 14-11. First round that Rakhmonov actually outstrikes him and controlled him for 2 minutes and 55 seconds. About a minute of control time on the ground, if I remember. Then last round, Rakhmonov is still throwing great techniques, using spinning back kicks and things like that. Goes for the takedown, but he's on a leg, but then with that wrestling, he exposes the back and wasn't able to suck that leg back under. Garry was able to take his back for a little bit and get some control time of his own, minute and 36 seconds of it, but Rakhmonov got out of that without taking a ton of damage. Garry didn't really land that much. He only landed four strikes, significant strikes this round. Do you really... Either way, you can go either way in this round. I think Garry won this round because he had more dominant position when he was in control. Let's go look at the judges' scorecards. I am curious as to how everybody scored it. These are the best judges. Ron McCarthy can suck it. Chris Lee's also horrible. Mike Bell, but all three judges had it the same way. First 2 rounds going to Rakhmonov, and then third and fifth going to Garry, with that fourth round being Rakhmonov's as well. So good win for him. Obviously, he's next for the title. Bilal Muhammad came in and they did a stare down. I think that needs to be that fight needs to happen. I mean, what are we looking at for Ian Garry losing his? They were both undefeated coming into this, by the way, but he lost his O. Sean Brady fight would be fun for him. Kamaru Usman would be fun for him. For Garry, that is. I think giving him a wrestler. Obviously, Covington's going to be fighting Buckley, so you can't fight either one of them yet. Although possibly, based off the winner of Covington and Buckley could fight. Well, if Covington wins, he's not fighting Ian Garry, so forget that. But if Buckley wins, he could fight Garry. I think there's a lot of fun fights in here. Jack Della Maddalena, anybody in the top 10 essentially right now. Gilbert Burns, even Stephen Thompson, I guess, but. I wouldn't go outside the top 10, that's for sure. And Stephen Thompson's still in the top 10, by the way. Holy shit. He's been in the top 10 so long. Oh, that's crazy. All right. Let's move on to some bullshit. Ciryl Gane taking on Alexandre Volkov. Fight wasn't the most exciting, but it had its moments. It was fun. It wasn't like a total slog to get through. And the judges fucked this one up. That 100% they fucked this up. I will not hear it any other way. We'll go through it and I'll explain my position. But then if you go look at these two fucking dingalings who scored it, you'll understand why I'm saying what I'm saying. They both go body kicks. Volkov catches one and gets the takedown, back up after 30 seconds with no real damage. Volkov overextends on a right hand, gets taken down himself. Gane goes for that straight ankle lock, loses position. Volkov gets another takedown. Gane jumps on the guillotine. Hard round to score with nobody landing much damage on the feet. Gane probably more effective in his control, and even though they both had the same amount of control time, essentially 138 to 134, Gane did outland him 12-10, but really we're splitting hairs. If you gave this first round to Volkov, I could understand it, but I think this first round does go to Gane. I think he did more in this round, even if you want to just say those 2 sub attempts. That puts him out in front. All right, second round, Volkov landing and pushing him back, avoiding those overhands and throwing an uppercut. Volkov lands with a spinning back fist, shaking Gane for a second, who dives takedown, can't get it himself. Volkov landing high kicks, right hands, a nice jab. Gane just wanting to load up and land a big shot. Gane landing a right hand, that was a really big one that looked like it could have shook Volkov, but everything happened so fast you weren't able to tell if Volkov was damaged by it. Volkov fires right back, lands a couple of shots, and then he jumps guillotine, gets stuck on bottom fighting that Von Flue. Nothing there. A lot of standoff, and Volkov landed the better shots. Looking at the striking numbers, 27 to 25. We're going to call that a wash. Who hurt who? They both kind of hurt each other. So who did more damage with their strikes total? That would be Volkov. Who had control on the ground? Nobody really. It gave Volkov technically had a sub attempt, and Gane did not have a sub attempt, so they didn't credit him for that Von Flue attempt. I don't know if he was really attempting it, if he knew what he was doing, but he was in a position to do it. Doesn't do anything with it. That was just control time. So it's 39 seconds of what I consider inconsequential control time because Volkov had him in the guillotine and pulled it. So that's a wash. Just very little control time, right? So now we're looking at damage. Who did more damage in this round? Go back and watch it. Volkov did. Like a majority of those strikes. The only reason this is close is because the 13-1 when it comes to the leg kicks from Gane. Now, he did land a couple good leg kicks, and I'm a big fan of them. But when all things are being equal, the shots from Volkov landing to the head were much better. Like, if you take away those leg kicks, which, I mean, I wouldn't just take away half of them. Now we're not talking about Gane outlanding him, we're talking about Volkov outlanding him, so he would win on the numbers too. And I'm playing a stupid game there in my head because the numbers are what they are. Gane outstruck him. That's not how this round went. If you just look at these striking numbers, you'd be like, what's the controversy? It's because of the damage. So 19-19. And remember, Volkov hurt Gane, and Gane was visibly shaken for a second and went for a panic takedown. Volkov did not shake, and he immediately started throwing back. So if you want to talk about who damaged who more based off of what we can tell, because you're not neither one of their heads, you can only go based off what you see. Volkov did more damage. All right, last round here. Volkov hits the single. Gane turns the corner and fights for the Kimura, which is pretty damn cool. But Volkov doing a great job tucking it in the waistband, staying on top, and getting a really good job, doing a really good job just staying on there. You can't win a round staying on your back and not doing shit. So clearly Volkov won this last round. Control time, 2 minutes and 58 seconds. Gane really had none. Okay, let's look at the scorecards because they gave 2 judges gave it to Gane. Let's look at it. So Eric Cologne scored it correct, right? Given those last 2 rounds to Volkov, Genichiro Kamijo and Adelaide Bird. Adelaide Bird is an absolute dingus, right? Just a complete ding dong. Has no consistency. Doesn't know what she's looking at. Anytime I see her cage side, because I know what she looks like. Anytime seeing her there, I'm like, oh shit! I hope this doesn't go to a decision because no one should have any confidence in anything knowing that she's sitting cage side. Right? She has zero credibility, in my opinion, and in many people's opinion. And it's not just in MMA, it's also in boxing. So that's where she comes from, is the boxing commission, and she is horrible at that too. So I don't know how she keeps getting a job. I don't know who she knows or how she got this gig, but she continues to work, and people continue to pay her with their taxes. Now, Genichiro Kamijo he's an idiot too. When it comes to scoring, I don't know the guy personally. He might be a great dude, probably really nice to his grandmother. That's not what I'm not talking about that stuff. When it comes to judging, he has the same problem that Adelaide Bird does. Now, he judges more, so he gets more right just by volume. But if you look at some of the things that he's done in the past, like we're talking like Chris Lee levels of incompetence, if not worse, he's very bad. So if either one of them were to come out and explain why they scored it the way they did, which they won't, so who gives a shit, right? Like, we could go back and say, oh, okay, at least that's why. But they don't. They're not going to. They're like, oh, my God. This whole situation is the worst. Now, let's look at the... Okay, so now the UFC, like, they're in quite a bit of a pickle, right? You have Tom Aspinall and John Jones, who may or may not fight each other. We don't have to get into that now. I think they should fight. Most people think they should fight. John Jones is waiting for more money. That's just the way it is. Ciryl Gane and Volkov were 2 and 3. So essentially, we're fighting for title eliminator, not being the interim, right? So what I mean is whoever won this fight is essentially the next up in line for whoever they want to fight for the title. So whatever, right? Volkov was on a 5-fight win streak. This should have been 6, and now Gane, steals some of that, and coming off of a loss to John Jones, and that whatever. So now you have a guy and nobody thinks. So they'll sweep this under the rug if they do end up shoving Gane into a title shite is what it really is. A title shot versus Tom Aspinall or John Jones or whatever. Yeah. What are you going to do? Have Gane go fight John Jones again after he got dismantled the first time and essentially had a no-show in that first fight? You could have him fight Tom Aspinall, I guess, for a title, and then hopefully the real title, and then they just strip John Jones. We'll see how that goes. But how are you going to build up hype for a fighter coming off of a loss and then a bullshit split decision, which he didn't win, essentially? So, like I said, though, they'll sweep it under the rug, and they'll barely mention it. They'll just talk about a guy like who's coming off and how good, like how come off a win and how good his skills are and this and that. You know how they do promos. But bullshit, bad decision. Bryce Mitchell versus Kron Gracie. Boy, classic Gracie fight, huh? Oh, yeah, Bryce Mitchell says that his hero is Joe Dirt. Fucking classic. Those hillbillies, man. All right, Mitchell landing a hard low kick, a great shot to the body, and Gracie pulls guard. So Mitchell gets these double underhooks, and then Gracie pulls guard. Classic Gracie round. So much fun to watch a guy not do anything, but the ref not stand them up. So if you want to talk about... Oh, this was Keith Peterson. I want to talk about like why you would stand someone up. So Gracie wants to be on his back, sure. Mitchell doesn't care, right? He just stops him from doing anything. He spent 4 minutes and 23 seconds in his closed guard, and nothing happened, right? They both landed pity-patter shots for the entire round. 6-2 was the significant striking numbers. Essentially nothing going on. Mitchell obviously wins that round. Gracie landing a nice left hand as Mitchell goes after those low kicks and finding the mark with the knees and a really nice elbow as well. Gracie pulls guard again, and then they get up, and then Gracie pulls guard again and again after Mitchell gets the body lock. So it's the exact same position. A couple of armbar attempts from Gracie to end the round, and if you want to try and give him this round because of 2 sub attempts, sure. No, not sure. That's wrong. You can't do that. After spending 4 minutes on your back, not doing anything essentially effective, getting outstruck 10-1 for significant strikes. You're like, okay, what about total strikes? 70-46. Gracie was nowhere near finishing this fight. Essentially no damage this round. So the only thing he had was that sub attempt. And how close was it? I mean, it was an armbar. It was a decent attempt on the armbar. Like, he had a couple of them. They only credit him for 1, but he had 2 of them. Fine. That's its own reward. You get the finish or you don't, and he didn't get the finish. So 20-18 going into this last round. Mitchell body locks him again, and we're all like, shit. But this time he sits just for a second, puts his elbow across the throat of Gracie, and then slams him right into the fucking ground, essentially elbowing him. Lands 2 more big elbows and puts him to sleep. Holy shit, that was a great finish from Bryce Mitchell. Baller finish, excellent. You could say whatever you want about his stuff outside the cage. I don't like bringing that in here if I don't have to. And yeah, he's fun to watch. Nate Landwehr versus Doo Ho Choi. Boy, welcome back, Doo Ho Choi. I think he did have a fight recently. Yeah, he did this year against Bill Algeo. But, after that, he had that draw, the majority decision draw last year against Kyle Nelson, and those 3 big losses. One of the best fights ever. I always tell people, if you're trying to get someone interested in MMA and you want to show them something exciting, show them the Doo Ho Choi Cub Swanson fight. There was some technique early on, then it got sloppy, then it was technique, and then it got super sloppy, crazy damage, lots of fun, up and downs, really fun fight to watch for a lot of people. This fight was not that at all. It was completely one-sided. Big uppercut from Choi in the overhand right. Oh yeah, I wrote clean versus dirty fighting. I don't mean dirty as in illegal, just like dirty boxing, that kind of like sloppier stuff that Landwehr would throw out there, and it did not work at all. Choi, he lands an overhand right through the guard of Landwehr, having issues. Landwehr is just having so many issues trying to find range or timing. Even when he shells up, his defense looks sloppy because Choi's finding the openings in it. First round, like, holy shit, Choi's picking him apart right away, even taking him down, getting the back for a bit in the clinch. Landwehr looking to land anything, but Choi seems stronger, more adept at being there as well. So it's just like nothing for him. 40-9 for Doo Ho Choi. Second round, Choi right back, picking him apart, mixing up the jab with the lead uppercut and the low kick, right overhand, all looks good. Landwehr pressing into range this round, trying to find his most success, which was in tight, even though it wasn't a lot. Good grief, Choi tosses him with a beautiful sweep. Choi on the back, so much control, then up, then down, then Landwehr, he just one-way traffic, 23-12 for striking numbers, 3 minutes of control time for Choi. Last round, Landwehr needs a finish. He was trying to swing big, defended the takedown, but fell off of. He tried to go for the crucifix, fell off of it, ends up on bottom. Choi gets the mount. Crucifix on top and manages to get the finish. I'm not a big fan of the crucifix finish, but it does follow the rules and it meets all the criteria. I think that's fine. Like, I'm just not a big fan of it because essentially what you're doing is. Like, if you lock up somebody's arms to where they can't intelligently defend themselves and then just tap them on the head for 20 minutes, or it's not for 20 minutes, for 20 seconds, you could get a finish. Do you see why that's like not as satisfying? I totally understand. Like, it's completely effective. I have no problem with it being in the rules. It's just, for me, to have a definitive end to the fight, like especially one like this where Choi was just doing such a good job. Yes, it's nice that Landwehr didn't have to take a ton of damage, but it's less than satisfying. Let's put it that way. Good finish, great fight from Doo Ho Choi, not taking anything away from him. Absolutely looked great. Anyway, that is it for the main card. Wow, 2 5-rounders and managed to get that done. Okay, cool. I appreciate y'all for stopping by. It means a lot to me. If you like this kind of thing, subscribe to the channel. That way you know the next video is coming out. I'd really appreciate it. And if you do find yourself liking this video, or you did like this video, I don't know how you ended up here and then had to go back to the beginning. So if you find yourself liking this video after you watch it once, hit the like button. I'd appreciate that too. So thank you guys so much. I think there's another UFC, so there's no happy holidays, Merry Christmas yet. So I will be back next week for the rest of the videos. Oh, and the prelims. Those are in the next video. I'll be doing those. So I appreciate y'all. Have an amazing week. Love y'all. Peace.